Hello, everybody. Santino here, and I just wanted to take a break from the family and talk a little bit about this coronavirus issue going around. Full disclosure: I'm not a medical doctor, nor am I a nurse. I am, though, a medical assistant certified, registered surgical technologist, and former EMT. I've been in the field 27 years, so I've had the pleasure of serving across many specialties, um, and the privilege to treat patients clinically and surgically. I just want to talk a little bit about the virus and offer my opinion as to how I see the community now, and how I feel, how I feel it should better be understood. So the coronavirus is nothing new. The coronavirus has been around for a long, long time. Okay, so if you look on the back of a Lysol can at the top in the beige box area, you'll see that it treats and disinfects the human coronavirus. So I'm just saying that to let you know that the coronavirus is a virus that's been known and faced with for years. Now, the COVID novel coronavirus, what makes that different is by the word novel, meaning new, of new origin. Okay, so this virus comes from a cross species of animal and human. Okay, so just like a child is born every day, brand new individual, don't know anything about it until it expresses its genome, or expresses its genetics. It's the same thing with a virus. When a brand new virus comes along, it's not known what it is until it's studied and understood. And not until you study and understand its genetics, its chemistry, its microbiology, can you understand how to interfere with its replication process and be able to come up with a vaccine. Okay, so no, the novel COVID-19 virus has not been around for a long time. For all of you out there that are saying, well, it's a virus, why doesn't the medical community know what to do about it? Well, that's not fair, because this subset is brand new, so it's gonna take the time that it will to understand it. Now, as far as the exposure, yeah, it's true what they say. It's going to get worse before it gets better. And the best way to shorten that exposure time is getting control of the exposure rate, and that I'll touch on later, and I'll explain that later. Now, now we understand a little bit better about the virus itself and why it's new. Let's talk about its symptoms. So the symptoms of this COVID-19 novel coronavirus are shortness of breath, cough, and fever. So the shortness of breath is going to cause cough, and in turn, it being an infection will cause the fever. Again, the shortness of breath will cause a cough, and since this is an infection by a virus, this is what causes the fever. Okay, so knowing this and knowing the possible, exposure, this is where accountability as individuals come into play. Not just accountability for our family, but accountability for the community as well. Have you ever been somewhere out in public or at your doctor's office and you see somebody there who's coughing, snotty, feverish, sweating, and you're like, oh, they should have stayed away, stayed somewhere else? Well, think about that about yourself. Think about you being in a room when you're feeling ill, sweaty, sick, snotty. Don't you think that the community deserves the same consideration? Well, I would think so too. And the same thing for your family. If you are exhibiting symptoms, why would you want to be around your family, or why would you want to expose them? So what's being asked of the public is that if you're experiencing symptoms, or even if you have a concern that you might be experiencing symptoms, give your primary care physician's office a call instead of just showing up. Because if you just show up, you are more prone to infect everybody around you. If you call their office, explain your symptoms, they can better tell you what to do. Whether one, you're low risk, okay to come in and be seen, or two, you're high risk, and they'll redirect you to a county facility or an emergency room for treatment. Okay, again, we as individuals have the accountability to ourselves and to our community to make sure that we keep the community safe just as much to keep ourselves and our families safe. Okay, unfortunately, I understand mob mentality, one out for themselves and everything. I understand that, but in this time, we need to be accountable to ourselves and to our family and keep the community safe. Now, ignorance comes from the not knowing or the not educated about. Okay. And fear comes from the ignorance, the mob mentality, as I mentioned. You have a small group that believe one thing and one thing only, and then it grows and grows and grows. And then you have those susceptible and gullible people that believe it, and they go spreading it too, and it causes the bigger issue. So if you're really of the determined type to really be out there and enforcing this understanding and belief that you have, well, then you owe it to yourself primarily and the public to educate yourself about it. Get online, read a book about viruses, understand where it comes from and why it takes so much to understand. Really, why don't you take the time to take a genetics course and understand what it takes to understand a virus? You might even learn something about yourself and understand why you are the way that you are. Okay? So again, accountability to yourself and to community. And now accountability to community also goes for, when you go out to the store, don't take every roll of toilet paper. That's pretty ridiculous. That's just ridiculous. Buying all the water, that's just ridiculous. Purell, well, I can understand. I mean, the best way to cut the mode of transmission is by proper hand hygiene. It's not buying every mask. It's not, it's not going to your doctor's office and stealing all the masks. It's not faking an illness to get to your doctor's office and steal all the masks. That's not the way to keep yourself safe. The best way to keep yourself safe, to interrupt this mode of transmission, and to see a declination in exposure rate is hand hygiene. That's the best thing, because when you go around touching objects, inanimate objects, you pick it up, you can pick up and rub your face, it gets into the membranes and it'll cause transmission. Now, let me mention to better clarify that this being a respiratory infection, it's a droplet precaution, meaning that it's transmitted by droplets through air, like coughing. When somebody sneezes and it throws out a mist, same thing for coughing, it throws out its mist. And then you, as an in-close contact individual, picks it up. Or they cough and it lands on an inanimate surface like a table or a glass, or someone coughs on your iPhone or whatever and you pick it up. There's transmission there. So again, when you're out in public and you touch things, wash your hands, sanitize your hands multiple times a day if you have to. And that's going to cut the transmission rate, and that's going to ensure a quicker declination of infection, and that's going to help with transmitting, this illness. And again, that's the accountability that you have, is to make sure that you keep yourself, as untransmittable as possible. Now, the CDC is a wonderful source of information. Okay. They have doctors, they have PhDs, they have people that have been doing this for a long time, and they know the best of the molecular world and how to convey the true facts as to what's going on. Unfortunately, we have a government that's upside down. We have a government that doesn't know what they're doing. There's a gentleman that's been appointed to run this thing for the government, doesn't understand. Number one, these people have this government has no experience in politics. What's going to lead me to believe that they have experience in genetics or biology or microbiology? Just because you talk to somebody who knows what they're talking about doesn't mean that you know what you're talking about. That's why they're professionals in their field. And that's why even those professionals are discounting and butting heads with what, this administration thinks that they believe. They're just trying to put a cap on what they've failed to do, and they're trying to, CYA. Okay. So again, the COVID-19 novel virus, it's a brand new virus because it comes from a cross mix of species from animal to human. So that's why it's a brand new virus, and that's why it needs to be studied. And once it's studied and it's genetic and molecular and biologic makeup is understood, then a vaccine can be made to better interrupt its transmission and replication of the virus. Number two, it is our duty as citizens to be accountable to ourselves first, and accountable to our family, and accountable to the community. That means doing the best that we can individually to ensure that the mode of transmission stops, because that keeps your family safe, and plus it keeps the community safe. And again, I will point it out to you like this. Imagine you at your doctor's office and someone sits next to you and they're snotty, sweaty, feverish, and you're thinking, geez, they should just stayed home. How rude that they come out into the community and like that. Well, how about you when you're snotty, feverish, and sweaty? Same as just for you, okay? So you have that duty of accountability. When it comes to the mob mentality, fear or a fly or fight, whatever you want to call it, there's a community out there. There are people out there that need supplies and necessities too, that need toilet paper, that need water, that need everything that you're going out and buying in mobs. And I understand you've got to protect your family. Okay, you want to protect your family? Hold yourself to that duty of accountability and making sure that you work as hard as you can to interrupt that transmission of the virus. Okay, and how about that? Again, the unintended or the intended, the intention of not educating yourself to learn about something is an essence of ignorance. Okay, so if you're going to be a strong proponent or an advocate for doing the right thing, well then educate yourself. Okay, and this is the best thing. Unfortunately, the government is misleading, whether you're blue or red or whatever. A virus is neither. A virus is neutral, and it's a body that doesn't see color and will get you whether you're blue or red, okay? So I hope I've been able to shed a little bit of light on what this virus is, what it is, what it entails, and its transmission. And I hope I've been able to better give my opinion as to our individual accountability on this virus. Okay, again, please educate yourself, pick up a book, learn about a virus, learn about how it's created and how you can destroy it. Read the CDC website. When it comes to every other type of an illness or infection, we tend to believe the CDC. Well, why not now? Because you have that mob mentality. That's ignorance in itself. Okay, so let's be good to ourselves and let's be better to everybody else around us. And by us working together, we can ensure that this spread of this horrible virus will meet its end sooner than later. Okay. Well, thanks for listening, and please keep safe.